Rap News, Street Politics, the best hood channel on YouTube, and we back again to give y'all the most deadly gangs in the West Valley. Now, if you've been rocking with the channel, man, we released 2 previous videos covering the rest of the most dangerous hoods in the San Fernando Valley. From North Hollywood all the way to San Fernando, Pacoima, Van Nuys, and everything in between. And this is gonna be the final piece of that series, including all hoods west of the 405 freeway and going all the way to Topanga Canyon Boulevard. Now in this section, we got Reseda, Lake Balboa, Northridge, Canoga Park, and we got some active hoods that's been known to put it down in this section. We got some Gangsta Crip hoods that's been pushing lines in the West Valley since the 80s. And we also got arguably the biggest set that's came under a lot of scrutiny due to them carrying out racial attacks. But before we get started, have y'all ever watched our videos and wondered how we get some of these guys' real names, addresses, locations, and really just personal information on some of the people that we speak on in our videos? Sometimes it's really just an easy search of Google. And that's why we gotta present to y'all our first sponsor on the channel. We got Aura, an all-inclusive identity protection platform with multi-credit bureau monitoring and VPN capabilities as well. With Aura, you can monitor your personal data, including your social security number, across billions of data points across the likes of Google and the dark web. You can also monitor public court records, and Aura can also alert you when somebody's trying to open up that credit card or that personal loan in your name, you know what I'm saying? And even if you miss them notifications about that new credit card that got opened up in your name, every adult that has Aura gets up to $1 million in identity theft insurance that covers eligible losses and fees. You can also opt out of all data broker sites, which will help you remove your personal information so somebody like our channel won't have your name and location in the video on YouTube for 100,000 people to see. And if you just want to be anonymous and search the web from the comfort of your home without being tracked, they also got the VPN service for safe browsing. Now, because we Rap News, Street Politics, we got our own link, aura.com/RNSP. You get a free 14-day trial to try out all the services that they're offering with this platform. But remember, you gotta click the link below in the description box on this video to make sure you lock in that 14-day free trial. Now, you know, we also gotta shout out the members and the subscribers to the channel, man. And the first hood that we gonna touch on is gonna be a Gangsta Crip set that got 2 sections over here in the West Valley. We got West End Original Valley Gangsta Crips.
I got this sweet little lady, you know she from the V. Fucking with the Crips that disrespect her pops is from the P. She said she lonely over there, she wanna be a G. Hey, she said she lonely over there, she wanna be a G.
Now the OVGs, like I said, they Gangsta Crips, but they've been known to push that 7X. They pushing the 7 times, even though they are a traditional moving gang. And in about 96, a member by the name of Big C is who started this West End OVGC set by this Northridge area on Parthenia. Now the 7 was placed on it due to the G being the 7th letter of the alphabet, amidst other things that goes deeper into their set, but really they wanted to emphasize the gangster on their cripping with that 7 times. And you know, we gotta shout out Big Time Bomb from this West End OVGC hood. We appreciate the support on the channel for sure. And Big Time Bomb is first generation OVGC with everything that's transpired in his hood, along with being tapped into other reputable members, a part of the 3-pack. Now, when we spoke on OVG, when we covered West Set Avenue in the first installment of this series, we spoke about how the OVGs are the original hood in the valley that bought that Gangsta Crip into it. So the original OVG, Original Valley Gangsters, came out of Pacoima and was started off in the early 70s, around 74, by a member named Big Dex in what was then the East Side Pacoima projects. And by the early 80s, offspring from them OVGs in Pacoima went on to form PPB, Pacoima Paru Bloods. Now, some members of OVG had issues with the Damu movement that was forming, but most of them was cool with it due to family ties. And it was said that one reputable homie at that time named Big Lump put the C behind the G, thus forming Original Valley Gangsta Crip. And it was said that that was immediately embraced by some of the members opposing that Damu movement in Pacoima. Now, this is what really caused the divide and the confusion between the OVGs and the OVGCs, as well as the newfound PPB. But eventually the Crip movement in Pacoima died down and OVG ended up picking up again in Panorama City in the late 80s. And you know, we did see an OVGC hit up in Panorama City, but as of today, there's gonna be no OVG in Panorama City anymore. And after that movement in Panorama City, this is how they ended up on the West End, pushing Gangsta Crip, not just original Valley gangsters. But it was said that Big Lump, who put the Crippin' behind it, never got to see his movement take off in the streets as he was handed a life sentence and is still doing that life sentence today.
Yeah. All right, out of the Valley, wasn't no Crips, wasn't no blood, and it was hustlers going on, and these hustlers all had one thing in common from day one, Rockstar. They was low ride, right? So, original Valley Gangsta was started to separate, nigga, we ain't from Chatsworth, we ain't from Northridge, we from the ghetto of the Valley, right? Wasn't no Crip, wasn't no blooding, wasn't none of that. So really the first generation of any type of organization in Pacoima was OVGs, which is my brothers, my uncles, my daddies, and so on and so forth.
All the older dudes are gonna be a part of OVG. And as we spoke on before, Pacoima was a hub for minorities after World War II. So a lot of black families migrated there after the war, and that's how such a large concentration of African Americans ended up in the Valley. Now the second established hood out here, which is gonna be their largest controlled section, which is gonna border the 101 freeway and go all the way up to Victory Boulevard, north to south, and then east to west, they go from Wilbur Avenue to Lindley Avenue. Now their main hub over here is gonna be down Reseda Boulevard. Both sets of the OVGs, their main strip is gonna be Reseda Boulevard. So on Reseda and Hatteras, we have an apartment building that's synonymous with the original Valley Gangsta Crips, the Park Tarzana Apartments. Now, as soon as you bend the corner on the terrace, this whole strip all the way down to Yolanda is gonna be apartment buildings. And it's gonna be popping on both sides of Hatteras, east and west. But these Park Tarzanas are the main hub for OVG. Now, it's said that this side, as of recent times, is their most active, but they do also get cracking in this Northridge area as well. The Northridge section, which is gonna be home to their 18300 clique, again goes from Reseda Boulevard to Lindley Avenue and then Parthenia to Nordhoff. Now, if y'all know anything about Parthenia and Nordhoff, you know, throughout the whole valley, them streets are very dangerous, especially when we go further east towards Van Nuys and Panorama City. So this clique is gonna be over here off Reseda and Gresham. And you know, first generation OVGC really was established on Parthenia and International. Now, this is currently CPA Hood, Canoga Park, Alabama. At this time, it's CPA Hood. But in the 90s, again, first generation OVGC used to be right here at Parthenia Park. That was a main hangout for them dudes.
West Valley politicker, beside my dollar getter. Holy woman, get it down. My mind is my mama, nigga. Hard-headed, never listen what they tell me in the county. Big stove about to spread with my celly at the house with a pit. Smoke a blunt, watch belly. I'm a low, not a belly, nigga. Don't disrespect me, nigga.
Now, between these two sets, this one down to 101 shares territory with Westside Reseda Trece. And the thing about Reseda is they're one of the few Hispanic barrios out here that aren't really participating in the race wars. They've been known to have good relationships with the OVGs and the Dead End Gangsta Crips. And as we know, the OVGs are a part of the 3-pack, which we spoke about, which is a 3-hood Gangsta Crip collective consisting of OVG, Dead End Gangsta Crip, whose hood is also over here at Northridge, and they have a chapter in Granada Hills, and the Westside Avenue Gangsta Crips that's tucked right in between North Hollywood and Van Nuys. But with that being said, a hood that they've really gone back and forth with and has sparked a lot of racial tension in this West Valley has been Canoga Park, Alabama. This is the hood that really got Canoga Park, Alabama out of pocket, so to speak, in terms of them targeting affiliated and non-affiliated blacks in this West Valley area. Now, it was said that this beef really cracked off with OVGs being over here at Parthenia Park, off Parthenia International, and them having a specific culture about their hood. So, like we spoke on with OVG and Pacoima, those original Valley gangsters, those dudes were known for hustling and not too much gangbanging. That was really getting chilly in that crack era in the 80s and the 90s. So when OVGC landed over here in this what's now CPA section, they had dudes that had money in their hood and more than likely had what's deemed to be more of a flashy culture or persona about themselves being over here. And this is what led to the racial tension and then bumping heads with dudes from CPA. Now, it's said that CPA will go and hang stuffed animal monkeys from their porches and make other racial gestures in this war. And this really led to a lot of black youth in this area gravitating towards OVGC because of the racial problems that they was having, to where dudes was basically like, man, I may as well just join this set since I'm being racially profiled anyway. A typical minority story in Los Angeles that black and brown have both been through. That's the crazy part. But along with that, drawing young members in, OVG really soaked up other cliques around the way, growing their numbers. Cliques like Collins Block Crip, Sherman Way Mafia, and Gresham Gangsta Crip. And the Gresham Gangsta Crips was established in Reseda, and that's how that OVG clique in Reseda formed, sharing their hood with Reseda 13. They war with the OVGs, Dead Ends, and the 3-pack as a whole. Again, everybody in the 3-pack is gonna share the same enemies. But not only do they beef with Canoga Park, they also gonna beef with the Crazies. We're gonna touch on the Crazies, but both of their sections is pretty much gonna surround CYS. And the section that Northridge clique really be going at it with is a hood called Bryant Street, which is a very active hood that beefs with their allies Dead End, who's closer to Bryant Street. And then they also have Brown Pride Sureños. Now, I don't really know where their relationship lies with BPS because they're just across Parthenia from OVG and across Reseda from Dead End Gangsters, but BPS also beefs it with Bryant Street. But nonetheless, just like Witset, they beef with all the Bloods in the Valley, including Lincoln Street and Pacoima Piru. Now, due to them breaking off from OVG and Pacoima, they may have closer ties than any other Valley Gangsta Crip set to the PPBs. But like we spoke on previously, it was also said that back in the early 2000s, a member from PPB had killed a member from Witset, and that's how they beef jumped off with Witset Avenue. But at one time, OVG, Dead End, and Witset all didn't see eye to eye. This 3-pack collective just formed in 2023, where they all on the same page, pushing the same movement, and really pushing for unity between the Crips in the Valley. Now, there is another set out here called the Westside Young Neighborhood Crips. Now, that's technically going to be in Chatsworth, but to keep it real, they're not a fully established set like some of the other hoods out here. They really brand new, just getting started within the last 5 years. And right now, they the only neighborhood Crip set that's trying to get established in the Valley. Like we spoke on previously, no neighborhood Crip sets have really been established the way they are in other parts of LA County. Even though the First Street East Coast are said to still exist in Pacoima, they don't have any real territory over there in them hills. But of course, by default, YNC is also going to be an enemy of the 3-pack. But like I said, they all the way in Chatsworth, so they kind of far, man. They not really going to be in the mix with all the other hoods in the Valley. So we're not really going to include them as a most dangerous set at the moment. But a situation that transpired and really shined a light on OVG was a murder that happened where a member from OVG ended up killing a high-ranking, well-loved member from Crenshaw Mafia Gangsta Bloods, Baby Hawk. Now, the Hawk name in the CMG hood rings a lot of bells. And if you don't know Lil Hawk, Baby Hawk's big homie, he just got out. He was a member of them Damu Riders, rapping with B Brazy. And like I said, some real reputables coming out of Inglewood, which of course has made OVG and CMG lifelong enemies. But it was also said that the Crenshaw Mafias in the 90s had a chapter in the Valley as well. I don't know how true that is. There's only a few blood hoods out here. But with Lincoln Street being in Panorama City, being a gangster blood hood, them and the Crenshaw Mafias may have had ties and dealings in this Valley. But I would say that murder right there, man, put a big spotlight on OVGC and this Valley gangbanging. But nonetheless, they still in this West Valley, also on streets like Cohasset, Oso, Ingomar, and DeSoto. And they definitely one of the biggest Crip hoods out here. Now, the next hood on the list, like I said, is going to be a hood that shared a section with the original Valley Gangsta Crips. It's going to be West Valley, Reseda 13.
Hit the ops block and shoot it up like we Max Payne. Take a trip to Millwood Ave, that's on the fucking game. Busted out they whip and the bullet graze his homie face. 38 revolver on the gang, this shit won't leave a trace. Told the ops, get out the house, come outside and fucking play. Free my nigga active, well known for going insane. You can catch us posted up on Darby Ave or the J's. I know them niggas mad, the hood put they homie in the grave. Cut the grass up in the field, you gotta watch the snakes.
Now, Reseda 13 is an extremely large set that's controlling a major territory in Reseda. Not only do they occupy all the area with OVG, but they go from the 101 all the way up to Sherman Way, and from Tampa Avenue all the way over to White Oak Avenue. And believe it or not, these dudes had an even larger territory before the crazies started to set up shop across Sherman Way. And Sherman Way is pretty much gonna be the front line for that war between them and CYS, because the crazies is still trying to gain more territory to push Reseda back towards where they really hang out at. Now, like we said, R13, they haven't been known to really been tripping on the race wars, and they've also been known to have black members in this set. And with them being cool with all of the 3-pack, they also are gonna be beefing with everybody that the 3-pack beefs with on this side of the valley. Not necessarily Liggett Street and PPB, but for sure, all the other Hispanic hoods over on this side of town. Now, they've been known to rock that Houston Rockets hat, repping that big R on it, and they got a lot of young membership that's been coming up, especially since the war with CYS has jumped off. Now, it used to be 2 sides to Reseda 13. It used to be West Side and South Side. And they have a clique over here called the Pequeños clique. That's really the older heads that will rep the South Side. And a lot of them dudes is locked up. Then they had the DGS clique, which was really repping the west side of Reseda. And some of the DGSs is still active today. They also have a Pedos clique and a Rascals clique. Now, that Rascals clique was really recruited by the South Side members, them older heads, fresh out of Reseda High School, which is going to be close to the main blocks that they hang on. And it was said that both of them sides had beefed it for a little bit over a drug deal that went wrong. But when the crazies came through here looking to beef it, it said that the west side and the south side Resedas dropped that beef, came together to put it down against the crazies, because again, the crazies is really a hood that's from LA. Like we spoke on numerous times about the valley, a lot of hoods came from LA looking to put it down, looking to take over territory, because a lot of the hoods out here just had a lot of territory because there wasn't a lot of competition. So when these LA hoods came out here, they came real aggressive and looking to take over some blocks from these larger hoods.
All my homies are gangbangers, white tee on them hangers. Always locking that folk back, your life's in danger. That's the Mexican Superman, you fuck with him, you stupid man. Thank you. On me stupid man, all the money on the...
So that's what happened between Southside and Westside. They felt the threat and decided to drop their petty beef. But also they still had beef with all the other barrios over here, still beefing with Canoga Park heavy, especially since Canoga Park was not only trying to slide on them, they was also trying to slide on the OVGs as well. And Reseda also was beefing it with Bryant Street, an 18th Street faction over here, and Brown Pride Sureños, as well as Haskell Street, Bad Boys, Barrio Van Nuys, and the hood that's not in Reseda anymore, Clear Street Locos. Now, a lot of members from R13 ended up going down in the early 2000s due to really putting it down with the shootings and homicides in this section. And around 2020, the Dogs and the Rascals was really the only cliques that was still active in this area around Reseda Park and they project buildings on Wilbur and Kid Ridge. But at that point, that's when they started soaking up a bunch of little cliques and tag banging crews in this area and really expanding their numbers so they can keep it popping with their enemies. And that's what's led to their newest clique, the YGs, the youngsters clique, which is their new generation that's really popping it and putting it down right now. And these dudes still gonna be extremely active down Kid Ridge, on Reseda Boulevard by the park, on Darby, and really all over Reseda. Now, it's said even though CYS and R13 have both dropped a lot of bodies, some people may see it as Reseda still has the upper hand in the war based on the territory that they still control south of Sherman Way from CYS. And that's also due to them being a militant hood. It said they got a lot of structure, as can be seen with how Southside and Westside had dropped their differences, dropped both names, and just decided to push Vadio Reseda 13. But nonetheless, like I said, this is a major hood, extremely activated in the city of Reseda, and looking to put it down on everybody that's pushing in their territory. Now, next up on the list, we got one of the most notorious sets in the whole valley, period, not just the West Valley. We got West Valley, Canoga Park, Alabama, 13.
Breaking news in Canoga Park. Police are searching.
There's been a deadly shooting at a bar called the Rabbit Hole. This is on Roscoe Boulevard. A man was rushed to...
A deadly shootout at a strip club in the San Fernando Valley caught on camera. It happened in Canoga Park at Expo's Gentlemen's Club. KCON Line's Jeff.
Eventually pulled into a parking lot of an apartment complex near Vassar and Cohasset. We the ones sliding down Canoga, top down blowing loud. So what? 100 on a dash on Canoga, on Canoga, on Canoga. We the ones sliding down Canoga, top down blowing loud. So what? 100 on a dash on Canoga, on Canoga, on Canoga.
Now, Canoga Park is definitely one of the oldest and largest sets in this area, and definitely top 5 when we're talking about a hood that controls the most territory in the San Fernando Valley. It's said that these dudes started around the 1950s, and they got a very isolated hood. When you look at their terrain on the map, they pretty much pushed off from everybody, and they've kind of took over Canoga Park and Winnetka as a whole. Now, Canoga Park definitely has an infamous reputation for being racist out here in this West Valley. Now, it was said that really began due to their beef with OVG and the Dead End Gangsters, 2 hoods that's not gonna be far from this area. So when you see they hood to the south is gonna border Van Noyen Street. When you slide down Van Noyen, again, one of the most dangerous streets in the San Fernando Valley, period, you're not gonna be too far from OVG, and you're gonna run into OVG's allies in Reseda 13. But from Van Noyen all the way up to Parthenia, some even say Nordoff, and from Topanga Canyon all the way to Winnetka, these dudes have, like I said, arguably the biggest active territory, maybe rivaled by Barrio Van Nuys and Sanford, as well as the Vineland Boys. But when I say active, you know, some of these hoods, they control large spaces, but a lot of it be residential, a lot of it be real cool, and they only be kicking it on a couple blocks. Now, it's also said that it's not really easy to be initiated into this hood, with some of their members really being courted and processed for upwards of 2 years before they fully accepted into the barrio over here in Canoga Park. And one of their main rivals for a long time is gonna be Reseda 13, who also has a lot of structure, so that's not new to hear how they putting things down and vetting their prospects, if you know what I'm saying. Now, there was another hood that did occupy this area off Winnetka called the West Side Winnetka Criminals. But honestly, man, in that section off Cohasset, Leadwell, it's nothing going on over there. Runnymede, Winnetka Criminals is gonna be no more. It's just Canoga Park was too big for them dudes. So they pretty much just died out in the West Valley. Now, Canoga Park is also known to be strict on membership once you actually get rolling with these dudes. And you know, tactics like that is probably how a lot of the young dudes end up getting sent off on these race missions. Like I said, there's multiple reports of these dudes shooting at and killing black non-affiliates, dudes that's not even gangbanging, not rocking with OVG or Dead End. And mind you, there's not a lot of African-American presence other than in them 2 hoods that we can speak on in this West Valley. So it's very easy to tell who's gangbanging and who's not. So like I said, a lot of those targeted hits on non-affiliates was done on purpose. And this is why these dudes get the bad rap that they do for being racist. Now, also with Canoga Park and Reseda having some nice middle-class families in it, you can also imagine that the drug trade for both of these hoods be booming. Off Strathern Street, Lanark Park, extremely active for CPA over there, all down to Topanga Canyon. And not too far from here, we just saw a murder back in September on the 8300 block of Northgate. Now, I'm gonna say off Schomburn and Northgate, Schomburn Street from Topanga Canyon to Canoga Avenue, probably one of the shadiest areas you're gonna see over here, man. These apartments, especially where this dude got killed at the Northgate apartments, this is nothing to play with in CPA hood. Roscoe Boulevard is also not gonna be far from here, but the Northgate apartments is real close to Lanark Park. This is all the area where it's super popping at. Now, in 2002, 97 members of CPA went down on an indictment. Now, when you got 97 dudes to lose to a federal indictment and your hood's still lively, it's cracking, it's going, that's how you know these dudes are super tied in, their membership is large, and they not playing any games in this area, man. You know, usually we hear 30, 40 dudes. Hoods like MS-13 may have 100 dudes, but this rivals them. This is a large-scale hood that's for sure tied in with the Mexican Mafia. A lot of these dudes are in prison as well, putting it down. And you know, the cities in the West Valley have noticed that to the point where they've also put them on the city's most dangerous list for being responsible for hate crimes. And with that being said, not only do they beef with the Gangsta Crips, even the liquor streets and the PPBs are gonna beef with them just off the simple fact of race. Panorama City and Pacoima, pretty far from Canoga, Alabama, but trust me, they find ways to get to each other and get cracking. And that's mostly gonna be based on race, even though they share common enemies in the OVGs. And currently they got between about 400 and 500 members. Like I said, they started in the 50s, but it's also accounts of them going back to the 1930s when migrant workers from Mexico had populated this area and created Canoga Park, Alabama as sort of a group for protection for people that were discriminated against them, just like pretty much half of the gang started back in the 70s and the 60s. And it's just ironic that they started to protect themselves against racial discrimination, and we fast forward a couple decades and they doing the same thing that was done to them. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, no matter how anybody sees them, these dudes are an extremely active hood in this section with multiple cliques. Cliques like the Cohassets, the Diablos, the Dukes, the Hunters, the Lanarchs, Millwood Winos, Night Owls, Rascals, Termites. When you see multiple cliques like this, multi-generation, these dudes is putting dudes on and they really growing in this area. But on top of that beef that we already spoke about, of course, they also beef with Bryant Street, who's gonna be down Roscoe Boulevard from them. They gonna beef with Temple Street as well. Now, Temple Street had a section over here between Parthenia and Nordhoff and DeSoto and Canoga. Now, it's some trailer parks that's over there. The area that they supposed to be in is kind of hard to occupy or really hard to keep up and stay active in unless you expanding south into this Canoga Park area. But I just don't see that happening because Parthenia Park, Lanark Park, Schomburg, the Northgate Apartments is just south of Parthenia where this Temple Street clique is. And man, the numbers is just what it is. Temple Street's gonna be extremely active in East Hollywood. The numbers aren't on their side when they come in and playing over here off Parthenia and Canoga Park. But they was definitely beefing with them too. Beefing with 18th Street that's down Stratford from them. They also been known to beef with MS-13. They beef with Brown Price Sureños. And just like other parts of the valley, it's always up with every hood in Pacoima, and they beef with Vadio Sanford. CPA, West Valley is nothing to play with. Now the next hood that's not gonna be as big as Canoga Park, Reseda, or even the Crazies over here, but has a reputation that's just as deadly and dangerous and not to be played with, man. We got Northridge City, Bryant Street, 13.
Hold up, wait a minute, let me tell you something, bro. I'm from Northridge City where my boys be packing though. If a nigga really want smoke, come through and get it, oh. Boom, 5 shots headed to your dome, that's for sure. Lacking in the streets, best believe you getting got. Slipping, everywhere we be, we banging and we never stop. All my homeboys tatted on the fucking block. If you really want smoke, bitch, you'll get dropped.
Now, like I said, man, it's kind of cliche, but what these dudes don't have in terms of size and large territory, man, they really make up for it in just some reckless, ruthless gangbanging, man. Now, they hood goes from Parthenia all the way down to Stratford between Tampa and Wilbur Avenue. But the main place you gonna catch these dudes is in between Parthenia and Napa Street, even down to Chase Street. But between Parthenia and Napa, this whole row of apartments on Parthenia, man, is gonna be occupied by the Bryant Street 13 gang. It's basically a project building. And you know what it low-key looked like is a mini version of the Scottsdale Paru projects out in Carson. This kind of looked just like it. You can't really get in there. You gotta go through the gate, and these dudes is popping and they cracking in this section. Now, Parthenia and Vinalden, right across from Lorenzo's Liquor, that whole little area right there, that's where they setting up shop. That's gonna be headquarters, man, for Bryant Street. And they beefing with everything that's around them. They beefing with Canoga Park. They beefing with Dead End Gangsta. Now, Dead End is going to be right across Wilbur from them. They really beefing it with Brown Price Sureños heavy. They also beefing it with 18th Street, who, again, like we said, is not really going to be active in this Reseda area. The 18th Streets that we spoke on, that's in North Hollywood, Sun Valley, and Van Nuys, that's your typical XV3. But Barrio 18 and Reseda, they're not going to have a large area. 18 and Bryant Street's going to border each other across Stratford. But this 18th Street's supposed to go from Stratford to Satacoy between Tampa and Wilbur. And man, this shit, like I said, they just not right there. They got a lot of competition from Bryant Street, the Crazies, and Reseda 13. It's like, man, you can't win them all, 18. They've set up shop elsewhere, and them areas is cracking. They really putting it down. But this ain't one of them areas, man. But like I said, with Bryant Street, they also beefing with OVG. They gonna beef with the whole 3-pack. And some hoods they not far from is gonna be them Panorama City hoods because they all share that same Parthenia Street midway point in they hood. So they gonna beefing with Langdon Street. They beefing it with Columbus Street. And like we said, Vincenttown is another hood that's low-key dying out in this area. I don't know where they stand with Blythe Street also being down Parthenia or where they stand with Liggett Street, but they got their hands full in this Reseda, Canoga Park, Northridge area anyways, man. Now, this section is known to wear them Boston Red Sox hat, repping that B. Very similar to Blythe Street. who's also repping the beat. So you can really be mistaken for being from Blythe Street or Bryant Street because some of their blocks are the same. Like we said, Parthenia, Roscoe Boulevard, Chase Street. They got a few main streets that run through both of their hoods. So I don't know if this is why they may not beef with Blythe Street, because they sharing the same enemies when they get ran up on, rocking them B-hats, but I can't say. But a reputable member from Bryant Street named El Cone, who like most of these vadios throughout LA, had ties to the cartel out of Mexico, more than likely had ties to the Mexican mafia, but it was said that specific cartel was Sinaloa. El Cone from Northridge City, Bryant Street, was linked to 16 homies. 16 murders, man, under one man belt coming out this Bryant Street project section. Now, he was effectively a hitman for the Sinaloa cartel, so we can see the type of individuals and soldiers that Bryant Street is breeding in this section. And at night, this is a no-go zone. If y'all pull up over here, you're gonna see this area between Napa and Parthenia. It's not to be played with. Chase Street, not to be played with, as well as the 19,000 block of Bryant Street. But not too far from them is the hood that got the shadiest alley in the valley. We got Northridge City, Brown Price Sureños 13.
Canoga Park. What's up to all my BPS gang out there? Northridge City, Palmdale, South Central LA, to my upstate Sureños.
If it's on, then it's on. We riding in these Cali streets from the dusk to dawn. If it's on, then it's on. We riding in these Cali streets from the dusk to dawn. If it's on, then it's on.
Now this alleyway is by Northridge Middle School, tucked right behind Schomburn, between Lindley and Zelza Avenue. I promise you, other than maybe Bad Boys Alley BBS 13, who we gonna get to, and I don't think them dudes is as active as BPS, Brown Price Sureño 13 has the sketchiest, shadiest, and most dangerous alley right next to Schomburn Street in the whole San Fernando Valley. I'm gonna say the whole valley, man. That's how dangerous it is over here. And just recently, man, a man was killed in this alley, suspected to be from BPS. Cause I'm gonna tell you, the alley's so hot, only BPS members or their enemies are gonna be in this alley. Of course, the residents of the apartment buildings on Schomburn and El Valle Street are gonna be in here, but most of them residents, man, I promise you, is gonna have ties to these Brown Price Sureños. You got no business being in this alleyway, El Valle Street, Schomburn, man.
Around 11:55 last night, with multiple callers telling police there had been a shooting in the alley between Roscoe and Schomburn. This is just off of Zelza, between Zelza and Lindley in Northridge. When police arrived, they found two men down, paramedics pronouncing one of them dead at the scene.
This is a complete no-go zone to everybody listening. Anybody that want to come to the Valley, Reseda, Canoga Park, Northridge. I know Northridge, a lot of people, especially, I'm going to say 60% of the people coming out of LA that's going to college is about to go to Northridge. They hit Northridge up. You know, it's low key. You know, when I was coming up, it was a party school. I don't know if it's still the same type of situation in Northridge, but overall, man, Northridge College is cool. And this is literally only a few blocks away from the college, but this is still a no-go zone, not to play with. But their whole territory is also going to be pretty active. They going from Roscoe Boulevard all the way up to Parthenia, between Reseda Boulevard, and I'm gonna say that Zelza Avenue, man. Some say White Oak, but I'm gonna say Zelza Avenue, right where that alleyway ends. Everything past Zelza going east, I'm gonna say that's where they hood stop, with Roscoe and Chase Street being the boundary, man. But they whole hood do get cracking. And again, this isn't a large set. It's not a large hood like Reseda 13, Canoga Park. I'm gonna say they just about equal size as Bryant Street in terms of their territory, and they probably have the same amount of members. I'm gonna give the edge to Bryant Street, who has the most members, but right now these two hoods is really beefing. Them is main rivals right now. I'm gonna keep it real. They kind of, you know, they be skipping over Dead End. Dead End is tucked right in between BPS and Bryant Street, but Bryant Street and BPS is a more deadly war than Dead End has with either one of them hoods. They extremely active, and all it takes is a ride down Roscoe Boulevard from either one of these hoods, and it's cracking. Now, it's also said that Brown Price Sureño also tried to set up shop deep in the city in A-Trade Gangsta hood, but that specific subset of BPS was not sustainable. And you know, we say BPS, especially when we talk about the city, we thinking of Black P Stones, but this is a Sureño gang, Brown Price Sureños, and their original hood used to be near Harvard Park, where they would beef with the Harvard Park Brims and Florencia. but that's what led them to being relocated. Now they on the east side by the main streets, man, but they beefing with Video 80th Street over there. They beefing with South Los 13, 97, and Q102 East Coast. So again, BPS, these Brown Price Sureños, man, they active no matter what part of the town they in, man, they cracking. But that should just let you know, these dudes is in the middle of war in South Central. You know what they bring into the Valley. Because the thing is, like we spoke on multiple times, these hoods that have subsets in different areas, especially when they connected, the Valley is not that far from LA. These dudes all kick it together. They will go down to LA and LA will come up to the Valley and they'll be functioning and they'll turn the shit out. Membership is damn near interchangeable at that point. And this is why it goes up in the Valley, because so many LA hoods have set up shop and got cracking over here. And man, like I was talking about that murder over here in that alleyway, man, they killed dude right in front of his girlfriend. His people was over there and all of that. Like I said, it's definitely reported that he was from BPS. This was his section. They didn't care who he was with because they know them dudes be in that alleyway, man. But like I said, I'm not too sure if these dudes is race banging against the Crips. In South LA, they're surrounded by the main streets. They beef with a couple Crip hoods, a lot of Southside hoods, but they don't beef with the main streets. And they cool with some other hoods over there. So I don't know if they got those racial tensions that some of the other hoods may have out here with the dead ends and the OVGs. But they also gonna be beefing it with Canoga Park, Vincenttown, and the Crazies. And the Crazies is gonna be right across Roscoe Boulevard from them. But again, that beef with Bryant Street has been going on for over 30 years. And that's what's accounting for a lot of the violence in Northridge City. Now, next up on the list, man, right across Roscoe Boulevard, we got a hood that's controlling a lot of territory. And man, when you over here, it seems like the helicopter never leaves. We got West Valley Crazies to that Northridge section though. And I say Northridge because this is the same Crazies that's by Echo Park, man, by Diamond Street, by everything that's popping over there. We touched on them when we did a Highland Park video. Now, I know they're not in Highland Park, but since we didn't add them in the Pico Union video because it's close to Pico Union, all them hoods over there like Rockford Street, we didn't add them in that video, so we added them into the Highland Park video, just in case y'all wondering where we covered them at when we was covering the hoods in LA. But that Crazies down there is extremely popping and active, man. And I told you, they bought that activity to Reseda because they wanted to take over this territory from Reseda 13. And with that being said, Reseda 13 is their original main rival. Now, like I said, 18th Street was in this area before CYS got here, but as you can see, CYS is controlling the second most territory in this Reseda area. They going all the way from Roscoe Boulevard down to Sherman Way between White Oak and Wilbur Avenue. Straight block. But they main street where they gonna be most active at is all down Satacoy, Keswick Street, Satacoy and Canby, Valerie and Reseda. These dudes is extremely active in this section. And I know some of y'all in the comments gonna say, man, how many times this dude gonna say extremely active? We telling y'all these streets just in case you wanna come over here. And then we'll see how many times you say, damn, these motherfuckers active. How many times you gonna say it is about how many times I'm saying it. It's cracking over here between Satacoy and Keswick. Reseda Apartments, Lindley and Satacoy, and for sure on Keswick between Reseda Boulevard and Yolanda Avenue. Now this set was extremely active, especially in the early 2000s, from about 06 to 2017 going to war with Reseda 13. And when you putting it down for a dime in the streets, man, and it's gonna lead to a lot of dudes being incarcerated and getting locked up in injunctions and indictments. And that's what it has done for CYS, which is why they didn't get to push Reseda 13 all the way down past Sherman Way, even though they did succeed in taking over some of Reseda 13's original territory. And you know, the crazy thing is, like we said before, this isn't the only hood to come from this Echo Park, Silver Lake area. And not too far from that East Hollywood area, Temple Street, the hood that we said really couldn't build it all the way up, right next to Canoga Park. Both of them hoods is right next to each other in Silver Lake. Sunset Boulevard is what separates both of them hoods, and they beefing it down in Silver Lake. And I'm sure when Temple Street was active in this Canoga Park area, they was beefing it out here as well. So this is really nothing new to these dudes from CYS, moving from Silver Lake and seeing Temple Street and 18th Street out here. It was regular scheduled programming, which is why it seemed like they got straight to Reseda territory. They already know what 18 and TST is about. So this is why this stuff ends up very dangerous. These are seasoned vets basically sniffing out new territory. They also gonna be beefing it with BPS, OVG, and Dead End Gangsters, as well as Bryant Street. But overall, man, they are part of a bloody war with Reseda 13 to OVG, and between Satacoy and Stratton in their hood, a for sure no-go zone. Now, the next hood we're gonna speak on is, believe it or not, a set that originated in San Diego. Down Sherman Way from the CYS territory, we got Northside Logan Heights to that set.
Blue ragging and sagging, I'm dragging your body boy ass. And fuck up all the other shit, don't need no motherfucking mask. When I'm done with your ass, you're gonna be crumbled to ash. And all that ass to ash, you're gonna make a dash real fast. Cause you ain't from nowhere, motherfucker. You better keep it like that. Cause I'm from the Elgin, motherfucker, and I'm gonna keep it like that, you little.
Now, Logan Heights originated, like I said, in San Diego, and it's gonna be one of the largest barrios in San Diego. And down in San Diego, a few of their main sets is going to include the Red Steps, 30th Street, 33rd Street, and Logan Heights 13. This Logan Heights 13 is going to be the same as the one in San Diego, but it's not to be confused with Barrio Logan out of Santa Ana. These are two different sets. This is San Diego Logan Heights. Now, them dudes in San Diego is known to put in a lot of work and be super tied in, and I believe this is how they made their way to the Valley. It was prime real estate right up that 5 freeway, man. Now, Logan Heights has been known to be super tapped in with a lot of business in Mexico in terms of dealing with the Mexican mafia and in terms of dealing with the cartel. And they've also expanded their reach to cities like Denver, Minneapolis, Lakewood, Washington, Las Vegas, of course in this LA area, and in Mexico. And this is a set that's not only gonna have Mexican Americans, but they'll also have Mexican nationals involved in their set as well. Now over here in the Valley, they technically gonna be in the area called Lake Balboa, which is just west of the 405, right next to hoods like Haskell Street, who's not gonna be active anymore, Bad Boys 13, and Barrio Van Nuys, just to name a few, man. But they actually control some decent territory over here, but they really gonna be saturated in some apartment buildings closer to Leadwell and Haskell, and really from Leadwell and Haskell all the way up to Satacoy. But their full territory is gonna go from Van Noen Street all the way up to Satacoy, and again, bordering the 405 freeway and Woodley Avenue. Now, just this month, 2 weeks ago, we seen somebody get killed over here on Woodley and Leadwell, and their main beef is gonna be with the Southside Bad Boys who share this area of Lake Balboa with them. Like I said, Haskell Street is across Van Noen from them, not really gonna be outside. Some people say BBS is dying down, but we're gonna speak on them. But between Southside Bad Boys and Logan Heights, that's who got it cracking over here across the 405.
Bang down like a cholo. You fucking with the other side, you know that fools is hot those. Talking about the witty, but the gay, yeah, homo. I live a fast life, but you know I live in slow-mo, bitch.
Now, it was said that the Logan Heights set had kind of got their feet wet with the cartel when some members was in Mexico and ended up saving a dude in the midst of a shootout who was tied in with the cartel, and they made their pack that way. After that situation, they seemingly was just taking contracted hits and ended up trying to pull a skit on a rival cartel member and ended up killing a Roman Catholic cardinal at an airport, man. Crazy. Like, how do you make that mistake? That's just the name of the game, I guess. But as you know, man, after a hit like that, their name was everywhere. And the spotlight was for show on Logan Heights ever since. But that cartel that they really gonna be tied in with is that Tijuana cartel. Of course, y'all know that's right across the border down there in San Diego. So that comes as no surprise to them San Diego hoods. And this Logan Heights set has been in the Valley since about the 80s when a lot of things was getting established out here. Northside Logan Heights found the opportunity and they set up shop over here off this 405 freeway as well. Now, they never really had much membership up here. Like I said, they really concentrated in them apartments that's pressed in between Haskell and the 405, the Haskell apartments, things like that. But I would say it's about 30 to 50 active members from this Northside Logan Heights set. But along with beefing with BBS, when Haskell Street was still around, they was beefing with Haskell Street. Barrio Van Nuys, right across Sherman Way and Van Noen from them, they beefing with Barrio Van Nuys. And they also gonna be beefing with the Alley Locos, who we spoke on when we covered Van Nuys as well. But Logan Heights, man, like I said, a murder just occurred over here, Leadwell and Woodley. This is still not an area to play in. And this territory gonna lead us to our next hood on the list, which is Southside Bad Boys to that set. Now, these dudes are really concentrated in one area as well, which is pretty much the same as Logan Heights. It seems like these dudes are just going at it with themselves. They in their own world over here in this Lake Balboa area. But they're gonna be most active in them alleyways around Van Noen and Woodley. They occupy them apartments on Woodley between Van Noen and Kid Ridge. And it's been said that these dudes is kind of putting people on and growing in this setting. When we was over there, man, we did see some activity in them apartments on Woodley. We was all through they set, and they was outside, seemingly looking to beefing with Logan Heights. I'm not gonna lie, but a lot of people say they kind of dying out, but I think some people just gotta go over there. But along with Logan Heights, they also beefing with Barrio Van Nuys. They did beefing with Haskell Street when they was outside. They also beefing with Langdon Street, Liggett Street Bloods, and MS-13. So BPS is known to have a little bit more function with the beef with some bigger enemies than Logan Heights though. But they area gonna go from Victory up to Van Nuys, and the Van Nuys airport is right there past Van Nuys. So when you get to Van Nuys, they really slide between Havenhurst and Balboa Boulevard. And then from Balboa Boulevard, they'll go to Woodley Avenue. So that Woodley and Van Nuys area is extremely active between Logan Heights and BBS. That Allen's Liquor and Junior Market right there on the corner, this where these dudes be at. And again, all them apartment buildings and them alleyways off Woodley Avenue is popping. But I'm gonna keep it real, man. I don't think that alleyway is as deadly as Brown Pride Sureños alleyway, man. I'm gonna just keep it real with that. But nonetheless, in this Lake Balboa area, Southside Bad Boys 13 and Logan Heights is putting it down. Now the last hood we're gonna touch on, man, for the Valley is gonna be Westside Dead End Gangsta Crips.
We're standing outside of one of these businesses. They were actually painting over graffiti on one of the walls over here when a man drove up in his car and started firing in their direction and then took off. You can see here that police have set up.
Now these dudes is back in Northridge City. They're gonna be a Westside hood. And just like OVG, they're gonna have two parts. Now that first extremely active part that we was talking about is gonna be right in between Brown Pride Sureños, Bryant Street, and next to CYS. From Parthenia all the way down to Roscoe Boulevard, north to south, and east to west, they're gonna be on Wilbur to Reseda Boulevard. And really where we're gonna see these dudes is they got these apartments around Chase Street and Amigo Avenue. They main click in this section also gonna be the 8600 block. And it said that this section right here is the most active out of all the sets, but it said that recently they 16700 click in Granada Hills has been more active. But I can't say that, man, because, you know, we slid through Granada Hills, man. Over here, Granada Hills Rec Center, which is pretty much the middle of that Granada Hills set. And that set goes from San Fernando Mission Boulevard all the way to Devonshire Street, from Havenhurst to Balboa. Granada Hills is a nice area, man. I'm not gonna sit here and lie in front and say Granada Hills is cracking. They got a couple sets that's supposed to be up here, like the Valley King Locos, the Mission Hill Locos, and the 6700 block click in Dead End Gangsters. But I think this one down by Bryant Street and BPS is the more active set. Now, like we spoke on countless times, these dudes are a member of the 3-pack, a Gangsta Crips set, rocking with the original Valley Gangsta Crips and rocking with Westside Avenue Gangsta Crips. And both of their sections is pretty much gonna be about the same distance from their enemies in the Liggett Street Gangsta Bloods. Really down Parthenia, that's where they run into Liggett Street and Panorama City. But their main enemy that they usually go at it with, man, is gonna be Bryant Street. Now, like we said, Bryant Street's nothing to play with in this area. They right next door to Bryant Street. And this area used to be claimed by Bryant Street, but it's for sure been taken over by the Dead End Gangsta Crips. And like we said, this is Northridge City. We spoke on the Collins being over here. Dead End Gangsters was in the news, man. They had to rob some students when they was flocking the apartments over here. So like I said, man, we know Cal State Northridge is usually a cool school, but these gangsters are still over here and they still putting it down in this area. And Dead End is not an exception to that. Now they also gonna be beefing with Pacoima Paru, just like the rest of the 3-pack. That one NAC hood that maybe people is trying to form, that young neighborhood Crip set over in Chatsworth, them and OVG gonna be beefing with them. And they also gonna be beefing with Canoga Park, Alabama for sure because of the racial tension, as well as the Crazies and that hood we was telling you that's not here no more. They was beefing it with Clare Street Locos in Reseda. Now again, they still got a fresh new ally with the 3-pack the last couple of years. They brought it together with OVG and Westside when at one point, them and Westside for sure did beef over little tit for tat shit here and there, but they cleaned it up and they moving as one under that Gangsta Crip moving car. And this set is gonna be diagonal to that other OVG set that's on Reseda and Gresham. Both of them hoods gonna border Reseda. OVG is just on the other side of this Dead End Gangsta Crip set over here in Northridge. But nonetheless, man, they still putting it down in this section. Of course, they still functioning with their allies, man, and they looking to get cracking, man. But nonetheless, man, we gotta thank y'all again for rocking with us on this series. Again, we spoke on over 30 of the most deadly and dangerous gangs in the San Fernando Valley. And we glad we was able to provide you with these no-go zones in the 818, man. Y'all make sure y'all stay tapped in with us. We thinking about just making a barbershop edit of this video. We know it's 3 videos long, over 2 hours. We may make the barbershop edit so y'all can just cut it on and listen to all 3 parts in one. But let us know how y'all rocking with us in the channel. Stay tapped in. It's the best hood channel on YouTube. And make sure y'all hit up our sponsor, man, and click that link at the bottom, or .com/RNSP. We out.